As for so many other people, election night did not pan out quite the way Robert Strick expected. Strick began the night slumped in a Morton's Steakhouse in downtown Washington, tuning out the guests at his watch party to type out the campaign announcement of a buddy who, in the wake of Donald J. Trump's all-but-certain defeat and the Republican Party implosion that was sure to follow, planned to make a long-shot bid for chairman of the Republican National Committee. He ended it by closing down the bar at the Mayflower Hotel, and after the race was called, giddily marching down Connecticut Avenue with his friends as they chanted, "Make America Great Again." Strick, who owned a lobbying firm so small it didn't actually have an office, spent most of his time in California and owned a small vineyard in Oregon, and he had helped out the Trump campaign as a sort of informal West Coast hand. He was still reveling in Trump's upset win 2 nights later, over a bottle of wine on the patio of the Four Seasons in Georgetown, when a chocolate lab padded over to his table to sniff his crotch. Strick and the dog's owner got to talking about wine and cigars and finally, like most of the country, about Trump. It turned out that she worked for New Zealand's embassy in Washington. New Zealand's Prime Minister still hadn't connected with the new president-elect, she told Strick, a diplomatic and political embarrassment. Strick cocked an eye across the table. "What if I said I could get you the number of someone to call the president?" he asked her. The following afternoon, Strick found himself in a cab, headed for a meeting with New Zealand's ambassador to the United States, Tim Grozer. Strick was more than a little nervous. On the way over, he called a friend named Stuart Jolly, a retired Army lieutenant colonel who ran Trump's field operation during the Republican primary and spent election night with Strick at Morton's. Jolly reached out to someone he knew in the Trump high command and delivered a cell number, but Strick didn't know if it would actually work. At the embassy, Grozer invited him in, uncorked a bottle of Pinot Noir and called the Prime Minister to pass along the number. A week later, President-elect Trump was finally able to accept a congratulatory phone call. But even before the call went through, plans and possibilities were blooming in Strick's mind. "I said to myself, this could be very, very interesting," he told me when I first met him this spring. "The world's going to change." Strick, who grew up in Arizona, had bounced around the minor leagues of politics for most of his adult life. At 41, he has the frenetic energy of a serial entrepreneur and the motley resume to match. After dropping out of college to intern on Capitol Hill, Strick wrote voter contact scripts for a Republican PR firm, helped start a political job listing website and eventually opened his own Beltway lobbying shop, Sonoran Policy Group. The firm almost collapsed in 2009, after Strick tried to acquire a troubled Maryland-based security guard business. Strick decamped to California, owing thousands of dollars in back rent, and reinvented SPG as a procurement and political consulting business. He traded tequila shots with the California Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, ran for mayor of a town in Napa Valley, handled PR for an arms dealer accused of smuggling weapons to Libya, the case was dropped last fall, and helped clients sell the government everything from flashlights to missile guidance software. By the time he hooked up with the Trump campaign, Strick had hustled his way to a good living, and he knew his way around Washington. But he was no one's idea of a Beltway insider. When the phone call to Trump went through, Strick saw the geography of a new world forming before his eyes. Interests that spent millions of dollars studying Washington and shaping it to their liking had been taken totally by surprise by Trump's win. The rules had changed, and no one was sure what the new ones were. For Strick, it was the opportunity he had been waiting for. As he saw it, the lobbying old guard, the guys that threw down black Amex cards at Joe's Crab and sent fat quarterly bills to clients they barely did any work for, were on the defensive. New people would have a chance. People like Strick. New Zealand was a prime example. Grozer and his staff had spent months researching Hillary Clinton, calculating who among her vast claque would win positions of power and influence in her administration. The main thing they knew about Trump was that he had sworn to pull the United States out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the complex 12-nation trade deal that Grozer helped negotiate. Strick, offering to work free, had a proposal. New Zealand would throw the biggest party of Trump's inauguration. Strick would put the new administration's leading lights in the room, Grosser would do the rest. It was about building brand recognition for New Zealand.